Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah! Show number 1701. Today we're going to take an amazing journey with an amazing woman. Hold on.
This is Cars Yeah! Where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah!
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah! It seems like I've been across the pond a lot in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Well, I'm back over in the United Kingdom, but I'm in Wales today, a beautiful part of that country, with a very special guest by the name of Steph Jeavons. Steph, welcome to Cars Yeah! I usually ask my guests if they're buckled up, but in your case, do you have your boots, your gloves, and your helmet on, and are you ready for a fun ride?
I'm always ready for a fun ride.
Yeah, I almost feel a little silly asking you that question because, my goodness, are you a woman that likes to go out and enjoy a fun ride? Now, listeners, you're going to learn more about that in a minute. But before I do a proper introduction, would you share one little thing with us, Steph, that maybe most people don't know about you?
I once appeared on a Welsh television program speaking in Welsh as a penguin expert.
Really? Okay, so I want you to tell me one sentence in Welsh about penguins. Go for it.
I can't remember the Welsh word for penguins now. I think it is actually just you say penguin in a Welsh accent. So right. My penguins and dda iawn yn y dŵr.
Okay, whatever you say.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's an interesting dialect. And am I proper to say that it is a dialect?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, it is so interesting. And I have no idea what you just said other than something about penguins, but that's okay.
It wasn't rude, I assure you.
Okay, well, thank you. We try to keep it family friendly here. Now, let me give Steph a proper introduction, and you'll understand where we're going to go on this amazing journey today. Steph Jeavons is an author, she's a journalist, and an adventurer, to say the least, who in March 2018 completed a solo around-the-world trip that took her to all 7 continents. It was the world's first. The journey lasted 4 years, took her to 54 countries, and over 74,000 miles. But here's the kicker. She did it on a 250cc Honda motorcycle, more than anyone who had come before her. Her life has been a roller coaster of rides, ups and downs, and downright unconventional, to say the least. She's experienced the lowest of lows. She pulled herself up and vowed to improve, to give back to others, and to take on the world. Her motorcycle passion led to many of her adventures, and inspired by the COVID lockdown we've all dealt with, well, you know what? She turned that around like she's done so much in her life, and she's written a book about her life, and it's titled Home by 7. We'll be back in just a minute to talk with Steph and take on this journey, a little bit of this journey of her life. But first, a word from our valued sponsors that make Cars Yeah! Possible. Give them a listen. Hang on. I won't say keep your seatbelt on. Keep your helmet on. We'll be right back. Did you know Covercraft offers you much more than just car covers? They have quality protection for the inside of your vehicle as well. Their plush, custom-fit floor mats turn any ride into something special. Or choose Premier Berber custom floor mats, a favorite of mine, if you want something very stylish and pretty unique. Covercraft floor mats are quality made and provide your ride with the ultimate protection from moisture, dirt, mud, snow, and slush, and those occasional spills. Don't forget your vehicle's trunk area. Their Carhartt custom cargo liners not only look great, but keep your rear cargo area and seats protected. Custom fit truck liners for sedans, coupes, and SUVs are perfect to protect the factory carpet from all those things that can stain and damage your vehicle. All your options are quality made, easy to use, secure to the floor, and look oh so good. Check out covercraft.com for a wide variety of styles, colors, and options for a custom fit today. And have I got a deal for you? If you use the code YEAH120 at covercraft.com, you'll get 10% off your Covercraft order. That's right, 10% off. Simply use the code YEAH120, YEAH120 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. American Collectors Insurance. That's who now protects my Porsche Turbo. the one I call my Orange Crush. They've been protecting vehicles since 1976. With all the time, effort, and money you've put into your classic vehicles, do you know how much you would receive if yours was stolen, damaged, or totaled in an accident or a fire? Your regular auto insurance carriers won't tell you until after the claim, and more than likely, you'll be in for a rude awakening. With an agreed value policy from American Collectors Insurance, you'll be paid your vehicle's full agreed value. No surprises. So don't just hope for a fair claim settlement. Be certain and know exactly what you'll get with an agreed value policy. I shopped around and decided to protect my car with American Collectors Insurance. Give them a call today for a quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324 and protect the ones you love. Tell them Mark Green at Cars Yeah sent you. That's American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors, folks just like you and me. All right, Steph, we are back, and as we continue on this journey, I'm going to call your life, and we really don't have enough time to cover it all, but that's why I want to push the book here, because people can get it and read about your life. I'd like to share, or have you share, a mantra or a success quote. It's some kind of saying that has great meaning for you. It's a nice way to get the twist of the wrist going here on Cars Yeah, or Motorcycles Yeah, we'll call it today. So, Steph, grab the handlebars.
Okay, well, this is something that a Berber in Morocco once told me, and he said, Steph, life is like a cow. Some days milk, some days shit. And of course, what he means by that is, you know, you've got to embrace the cow and take the good days with the bad days. But I thought he just put it so perfectly. So, in fact, I wrote my first ebook called Embrace the Cow in honor of him.
Oh, my God. Well, there's a chapter in there about cows in your book, which I think is fine, or what's just fun, actually. And this book of yours is amazing. You know, I noticed in the entry to your book, there's a couple other great sayings I want to share here, which, having read your book and learned more about you, have some great meaning. One is by Nelson Mandela: the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. And that's certainly something that you've done, and we'll talk about that. And also another one by Rilke: let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. And it is so appropriate to what you've done here. So I would love to dive into this book, Home by 7. And while we don't have the time to walk through the entire life, because your journey is incredible, what I'd love for you to do is maybe touch on the reason why you wrote the book, and then touch on a bit of, and we're going to get to some challenges, and you certainly have had those in many different ways, but also what the premise of the book is all about, and what are some of the things people are going to learn when they dive into this and learn more about your life. It's absolutely incredible.
Okay, well, the book starts very early on in my life, but and really the reason why that inspired me to take on the big journey that I did. But that was 20 years later. But I think you needed to understand my drive before you really understood my thinking along the way. Mm-hmm. So the book starts with me actually in prison at the age of 20, having had a drug problem and got myself into a lot of trouble. I do tend to dive into things quite deeply, you know, so
boy, you do. I'll tell you, listeners, and I'll interject here, the first part of the book does cover that, and I was almost in tears because of the way you wrote it and what you had to go through and the challenges with that, and certainly with a heroin addiction, right? I mean,
yeah,
horrible drug, and what it does to people and where it takes people. The great sunshine here over the hill is how you pulled yourself out of it and moved forward.
Well, it was there really that gave me that was actually that gave me the strength to I guess to find myself. But I think being imprisoned kind of gave me a freedom, or a real drive to find freedom. And
now that's a very interesting way to put it. I mean, most people would go, "What? What do you mean by that?"
Well, you really learn to appreciate freedom when it's taken away from you. And, when somebody tells you what time to get up, what to eat, where you can go, what you can wear, all that kind of thing, who you can speak to, it's quite a sobering thing, and it gives you time to think as well, of course. And I literally wrote a list while I was there. I had an epiphany moment, and I wrote a list while I was in there saying, okay, you're going to to-do list. 1, get off drugs. 2, travel the world. And I wanted to see things. I wanted to make something of my life and experience living. Not only had I been in prison, which obviously took away my freedom, but before that, I'd numbed life with drugs. And then I really had the urge to feel things and to see things and to get out there and feel alive. And it took me a while. I mean, I had a lot of building up to do. I obviously had to learn to get out there and be a normal human being again. And it was 20 years later that eventually I scratched that itch, if you like. I went for it big time.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. Talk about big time. You took on an amazing challenge. Now, not only to do what you did on a relatively small bike. I mean, think about a 250cc Honda. I mean, not a lot of power, but can get you there, but not really exactly a Harley road cruiser or a BMW big bike to go in comfort. But then you opted to, do this on a bike, but also being a woman and traveling the world. There's a lot of safety factors there. Not that I'm saying you couldn't take care of yourself, but there are, being a woman by yourself, traveling the world. So maybe touch on a couple things that this amazing adventure, because I really want my listeners to get this book, buy this book and read it. I think what you're going to do for a lot of people, and you already have, is get them to think differently about their life and set some really bold goals.
Well, you say about sort of being a woman, and yeah, of course, there are factors to consider, but I think the biggest thing about a journey like this, taking on a journey like this, is to realize in the first place that the world isn't that bad a place. And if you go out there with the right attitude, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. If you go out there with the right attitude and a smile on your face and be open and actually trusting and kind of allow yourself to be vulnerable in this big world, you will receive. You might be surprised. I found that everywhere I went, people were overwhelmingly friendly and hospitable, and they would always be warning me about what was to come. Mm-hmm. But while I was in there, it was kind of a not on my watch mentality.
Some care. So, they wanted to give you some care.
They really wanted to give me some care. And in fact, sometimes it was too much, But,
yes.
In Iran, for example, I would be riding down the road at 60 miles an hour, and a car would come up alongside me, open the window, and try and hand me a bottle of water. And they'd be like, take. And I'm like, this is a bit dangerous.
I'm trying to ride a bike here.
If I stopped for more than a couple of minutes, somebody would come along and offer to take me home and feed me. And you learn to accept these offers as well. Yeah. If I had a breakdown, a puncture or any kind of problem, there was always somebody there, almost to the point of you could just sit back and wait for the universe to provide, people were, that's one thing that really, I learned a lot along the way, was that people are very trusting, and we're actually all very similar too, of course, our sense of humor. I think maybe sometimes being a woman helped in a way, because it made me very unintimidating. Having the motorbike helped because people are interested in a motorbike. And when you're a woman in body armor on a motorbike, they're even more interested, like, wow. And at borders too, I found that, you could sort of maybe get away with more. Not that I was doing anything that I shouldn't be doing, but there was a point where at one border I'd forgotten some paperwork, or I'd lost some paperwork. And I think had I been a guy, maybe the response would have been different. But after the initial sort of frustration, they kind of went, and come on, and let's get you sorted and get you through. And I think there was a lot of respect for a woman on her own going out there, and a lot of respect for what they considered to be brave. I had very little trouble. I had a couple of issues, but not very many.
Well, it's wonderful to hear, and it really is a testament. When you get out there and see different parts of the world, you really start to learn that everybody really is very similar. We all want the same things, most of us. We want safety. We want our family to be cared for. We want some type of the ability to care for ourselves. And despite what so many world leaders who love to get us into battles and fights and conflicts, if we can move those folks out of the way, and I think we'd find that we all could get along pretty darn well.
Exactly.
In this world. And your story there tells me that. And I've heard that from other people. And if you watch the documentary, Ewan McGregor and his buddy riding their bikes around the world and the people they encountered and even with the challenges, the good things they encountered is really true. And I always say that is go out and see the world. Now, right now, we really can't go out and see the world because we're all locked down. But you use this opportunity of this tragedy of COVID to get this book put together, which I think is brilliant.
Well, I needed something to keep me sane, to be honest. I was sat here and probably for the first 3 weeks, I was starting to go a little stir crazy and thinking, okay, what else can I do? Because I have a to-do list. I work from a to-do list and suddenly, and it's a never-ending to-do list, and suddenly the to-do list ended. And that was quite a frightening prospect for me. And other than walking my dog and baking cakes like everybody else, I was thinking, well, okay, now I really need something to focus on. And I find that I thrive on some kind, I need some kind of a goal, some kind of a project. And so I thought, well, hang on a minute. I had already written the first draft, but I'd left it sat there for quite some time. And I suddenly realized that this was the perfect opportunity. And it gave me a lot of focus to sit down and concentrate on it. And amazingly, I got to the end.
Well, I think this is a great inspiration. It's what my show's all about, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, in your case, motorcycle enthusiasts. We could be in for a longer road here with this. I hope not, but it's gone way further than everybody could imagine. And you're a great example, and it's why I really wanted to have you on the show, of looking at this situation in a different way and finding a different path. And that's what you did with this ride, this incredible ride, and with your life. We touched on it earlier. I always ask my guests about a big challenge. Obviously, I would say, maybe not. Maybe you can correct me here. The biggest challenge in your life was dealing with a heroin addiction, prison, moving forward. But I love the fact that when you were in prison, you started creating a goals list, if you will. And I think we all can benefit from that, even if we're not in prison. If we're, let's say, locked down, or we're not in a job we like and we really would like to do something different, but we don't know, creating this list. But talk to us a little bit about the massive challenge in your life and really what it helped you learn and taught you so that you could move forward in a positive way.
Well, I guess that was my big challenge, as you said, was addiction and prison. And I think it did actually do me the world of good to appreciate the little things. And that is something I think all of us can do, really, is it's very easy to forget. And my life is a bit of a roller coaster, as you said at the beginning, and, lots of highs and lows. So I'm one of those people that has extreme highs and then, sometimes followed by some lows. And to level that out, what I've discovered is that a great way to do it is to really take notice and appreciate the little things. And that could be, living on the road too did the same thing for me. It's like suddenly I appreciate a fridge and a soft pillow, and a roof over my head and those little things. And taking that time out to really make that to-do list, to think about what it is which direction you want to go with your life, and start making small steps. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time is one of my favorite quotes. And I think no matter how big the goal, if you can just break it down into small chunks and take one chunk at a time, it's amazing where you might find yourself. And that's coming from somebody who couldn't believe she found herself on the starting line of that big journey, because I was just enjoying the planning, really. And suddenly the planning came to the point of, oh, I'm here. Now I've got to actually do it. And I think that was probably the hardest part, was the starting, was actually getting going. But it was such a massive project to think about, such an overwhelming project to think about and to plan. So I just took it in bite-sized chunks. And I think that list at the very beginning in prison was the same thing. Make a list, tick off each chunk at a time, and it's amazing where you might find yourself.
Yeah, you might find yourself riding a motorcycle around the world and then writing a book about it. It's absolutely tremendous. I mean, it brings a huge smile to my face. And part of what you just said is something I've learned listening to so many of my guests, is having that the saying attitude of gratitude, being grateful for the things you have, no matter how small or minute, and especially when you have those things taken away from you for being incarcerated, they really become valuable. Just the opportunity to walk outside and take a walk anywhere you want to go. Most of us take that for granted, all the things that we take for granted. So I always say, the past is history, the future's unknown, but they call the current the present, which is really a gift that's been given to you, whether you believe in God or whoever your divine creator is or anything. The present is a gift. So take a moment and be grateful for it because you won't get it back. Time is our enemy. And if you don't make a list and go out and do some things, before you know it, you're going to have a woulda, coulda, shoulda moment at the end of your life and say, man, I wish I'd done what Steph did. Holy cow. I really blew it. Well, let's take a short break and catch our breath. We come back. I want to dive into this passion you have for motorcycles and riding bikes. So sit tight. We'll be right back. And at the end here, I'm going to tell you how you can get a copy of this book as well. So we'll be right back. Let's take a pit stop from the conversation and talk about my charity of choice here at Cars Yeah, America's Automotive Trust. America's Automotive Trust is a group of like-minded nonprofits working together to preserve and promote car culture across the country. Together, they provide scholarships and grants to aspiring technicians and restoration artists. They provide youth education programs and bring communities together through auto-related events, car shows, and drives. One of those nonprofits is very near and dear to my heart because it's right down the road from the Cars Yeah headquarters. It's the LeMay America's Car Museum in Tacoma, Washington. One of the world's truly great automobile collections and one of those must-see bucket list destinations for car people like you and me. If you haven't seen it, I hope you make a trip soon. And if you have seen it, it's probably time to visit again. To learn more about this fantastic museum, go to www.americascarmuseum.org, and while you're there, you can donate to help them keep their engines running. That's www.americascarmuseum.org. What do you do after running a race team for 27 years with over 100 professional wins, multiple wins at the 24-Hour of Daytona, and a win at Le Mans? Well, if you're Kevin Buckler, a racer and the racing group's team owner, you create Adobe Road Winery. Located in Petaluma, California, he and his team have created a winning combination with the Racing Series, 4 ultra-premium red wine blends that are in a class of their own. Like racing, these wines comprise of art, precision, engineering, science, and a whole lot of fun. You can choose from 4 blends titled Redline, Apex, Shift, and the 24. Today, I'm going to tell you about Redline. It's a rich and complex blend delivering a taste of ripe blackberries, black cherry licorice, and a hint of toasty oak. An added very cool option is that this features the world's first interactive wine label. That's right. When you pour the wine, the 3-dimensional tachometer actually hits the red line. It's incredible. The Racing Series is a killer gift for the automotive enthusiast in your life, and I've got a deal for you. If you use the code CARSYEAH, all one word in all caps, when you go to checkout, you'll get $10 off any purchase of wines from the Racing Series. The wine ships promptly and arrives quickly right at your door. Use the code CARSYEAH at checkout for $10 off of your purchase today. There's always a seat at the table for excellence with the Racing Series. Go to adoberoadwines.com and use the code CARSYEAH to save $10 today. Cheers! So, Steph, would you share a story with me that instigated your passion for motorcycles, that pivotal moment in your life and you knew that, you know what, I want to ride?
Well, there wasn't really a pivotal moment. It was, it's in the blood, I guess. So my parents rode motorbikes. My grandmother even rode a motorbike during the war, delivering the post. But it was around me during my childhood, not massively, but, mum and dad both rode. And then my first real boyfriend, I guess, was a biker. He was the leather-clad mullet hair biker with the loud exhaust and the matte black bike. And he introduced me to a lot of his friends who were bikers also. And I think that I sat on the back for a while, and that didn't really suit me very well. Not being in control. I did enjoy it. I loved it. In fact, it introduced me to the speed and the thrill. And I thought, yes, bikes are definitely my thing. But it wasn't long before I had to actually take control and get on those handlebars. So yeah, and since then, all the way through my life, bikes are my meditation, if you like. It's a great way to sort of release some energy and to have some, as I call it, my helmet time,
Yeah, absolutely. I used to ride bikes. I loved riding. I rode younger. I did a lot of riding down in Mexico on the beach and off-road type stuff. And it gives you a whole nother sensation. And one of the things I remember when I got back into bikes and I started riding when I was older is you could smell everything. And when you're in a car, you don't smell anything unless the windows are down. And I was riding through this country area, and all of a sudden the sensation of strawberries was just filling my helmet. Like, what is that? Where is that coming from? And I look over and there's a strawberry field. And I'd driven by there in my car 100 times, never smelled a thing.
There is a beauty in that, and again, that word vulnerability. There is a beauty in that vulnerability, I think, in the fact that you're not in a box, that you can smell everything, you can see everything, you can taste everything. Yes. You can, the wind is in your face, the dust is up your nose, and good and bad. It's just you're part of the environment a lot more than you are in a vehicle, in a car. And there are good and bad to it, but I think there's something really satisfying about that,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So what was your first special motorcycle, and maybe the bike that took you around the world? What was that?
Well, I've had many bikes over the years. My first bike was an MZ50. You can barely call it a motorbike, and I painted it purple to match my Dr. Martens, and that has a special place in my heart, although I didn't have it very long. But really, the one that I have the biggest love for is Rhonda the Honda, and that is the bike that I took around the world.
Rhonda the Honda, I love
Rhonda the Honda. Yeah, she's a small bike, like you said, but there was a sense to taking a small bike. A lot of people thought I was crazy, but actually, it does make a lot of sense. She's dirt bike capable. She could take me through the sand, through the mud, over the potholes, and nip in and out of the traffic. And actually, speed wasn't what I was going for on this journey. I wanted to take my time and enjoy the scenery and meet people. And she carried me through wonderfully. And I spoke to her all the time, and I developed quite a relationship with her where I'd, say, come on, Rhonda, we can do this. Get me through this,
Yeah.
And yeah, so she's my girl for sure.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, when you spend time, a lifetime journey like that, I would assume Rhonda's still with you?
She's actually in a museum at the moment, but only on loan. So I thought it was quite nice to have her being shown off. It's quite an honor. She's in Bewley National Motor Museum, which has got some very cool cars and motorbikes there. Nice. And for her to be part of that collection for a time, I thought that was quite an honor for her, and she deserves to be there. So yeah, she's there for a while, but she will come home.
It's wonderful. I love it. Well, I always ask my guests, I kind of crawl into their heads a little bit, and I ask them if they were manifest as a vehicle. For you, it's got to be a bike, I would think. But if it's a car, you can tell me. But if you were manifest as a vehicle, what would you be? This isn't what you want to be. This is how you perceive your personality, and you certainly have some personality in this thing made of steel and rubber and glass and gasoline and oil. What would Steph be? But more importantly, why?
Okay, well, as we're on a cars podcast, I'm going to actually go for a car.
Okay,
and I think a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Okay,
because it's reliable. It'll get through anything, but not particularly fast. Mm-hmm. But it will get through there eventually, and yeah, and that's it really. It's just a good all rounder, and obviously it's an overlander, like me.
Now I'm surprised you didn't say like a Range Rover Discovery or something, being that you're in the UK. But I get it, because those Land Cruisers, like the Defender, the Overlanders, the Range Rovers, those things are used around the world to go anywhere, through jungles and deserts and ice and whatever it might be. So I think that makes perfect sense for you.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're easily repaired. It's not a computer job. It's you can get some cable ties and make field repairs. So yeah, I like the sound of that.
I do too. Perfectly said. All right, Steph, we're entering what I call the last lap. I'm going to fire, or the last run, the last hill. What would it be? I guess you can make laps on motorcycles. Yeah, they race. I'm going to fire off a series of questions here and have you give us some quick blips or twists of the wrist, I should say. Or blips of that Toyota Land Cruiser throttle. So here we go. What's one of your personal habits that you believe has contributed to your successes in life?
Well, I've already said it, and it's got to be the to-do list.
Yes, the to-do list. I think it's an important thing for anyone to have. And even if it's just a to-do list for the day, just a few simple things, you'd be amazed.
It's even just the little buzz you get when you tick something off. I'm sure a little hit of serotonin or something where sometimes, sadly, I will write things down even if I've done it just so I can tick it off and have that pleasure of saying it's done.
I love that. Yeah, I'm a to-do list kind of person. I kind of have to be when you're doing as many shows as I'm doing and reaching out and talking to as many people as I do. And at the end of the day, I like to look at that list and go, okay, did I get everything done? What did I miss? There's always something, but that's something to add to tomorrow's list. Now, if I could arrange for you to have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry or motorcycle industry, and you certainly have had drinks and meals with so many people in your life. Now, this could be somebody living or somebody who's deceased. Who would it be?
Okay, well, this might be a bit cheesy, and he's actually an actor, but he was a motorbike racer as well, and it's he has the most beautiful eyes. It's Steve McQueen.
It's interesting. Yeah, cool dude. That you mentioned him because I just had Marshall Terrell a couple weeks ago on my show. He's written 8 books about Steve McQueen. He's kind of the expert.
Oh.
Yeah, and his most recent book you would like because it's basically a picture book with quotes, and it's subtitled In His Own Words, and It's just full of wonderful quotes about him, and you kind of get a deeper dive. He wrote it because he wanted to do, Steve McQueen wanted to write his own biography, but he got ill so quickly and his life was gone so quickly that he never had a chance. There's another thing. If you want to do something, do it today. You might not have it tomorrow. But Steve McQueen, king of cool, of course, and certainly kind of a rebel. And he's somebody that started off in trouble. He was running in the streets. He had, a bad family, and he ended up in jail basically, but went to a boys' school, and there he learned that he loved to act, and the rest is history. So yeah, Steve McQueen will be a cool one. I've actually had his son Chad as a guest on my show a few times here. Interesting perspective. You listeners can go back and find that talk with Chad if you missed that one. Now, when it comes to automotive or motorcycle advice, for a woman who's traveled as many miles on a bike as you have, what's the best advice someone else ever offered you that really worked?
Don't leave home without duct tape and cable ties.
And that works with just about everything, except for maybe walking. Although I'll tell you, I encountered a guy working on a construction site once while I was on a walk, and he cut himself very badly, and he was having trouble. And I said, well, what can I do? What can I do? And he goes, well, take me to the hospital. And I'm like, well, you're like bleeding everywhere. And he goes, well, grab some duct tape out of my truck. And I basically wrapped his leg up with duct tape and took him to the hospital. So duct tape will do a lot of things to save you. He had fallen on some rebar and cut his leg really, really badly. So, so duct tape. I didn't want to put a cable tie around his leg, though. I didn't want to cut off but, I was thinking maybe this guy needs a tourniquet. So, yeah, you could string some of those together and make a tourniquet out of them.
There you go.
Well, what's a resource, a go-to for you that you found useful that you'd like to share?
Actually, Horizons Unlimited is a good one. They were very useful because it's a community on Facebook, but it's a community set for overlanders. Basically, if you're thinking of doing a big trip or traveling, you can go on there and you can ask fellow overlanders advice on anything you like, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Horizons Unlimited. Yeah. I think more and more people are also, at least here in the United States, are getting into this. The sales of campers and motorhomes. And I just had a designer from Storyteller Overland. They build these kind of like those Sprinter vans, the vans that, and they turn them into these off-road camping devices where you can go deep into wherever you want to go. With the scariness of COVID and people not wanting to fly and things being limited, people are starting to do that. Let's get out into the forest and the country, and I think it's healthy. it's a good thing. Even from friends of mine that never camped before are going to start doing this kind of stuff. So Horizons Unlimited. I'll make sure I put a link to that on Steph's show notes page. Now, Steph, obviously we're going to promote your book, Home by Seven. Tell me real quickly about the title.
Well, obviously, I rode on, as you pointed out earlier, on all 7 continents. So that's it, really. And of course, it's a play on words, I guess.
Yes,
so
I love it. I love it. It's great. And where's the best place for people to go to get their hands on a copy of your book?
Well, it's the Kindle. If they're in the States, it's on Kindle on Amazon, or they can go to my website for the paperback, which is stephjeavons.com.
STEPHJEAVONS.com. I'll put all those links on her page. Again, the holidays are coming. This is a wonderful book you could give friends to read that would give them great inspiration for the new year, because the new year is going to be upon us before we can imagine. And a lot of people like to set those New Year's resolutions. I had a guest on my show who decided to fail 100 times in the new year, meaning that she would, and it was a woman, that she would try 100 new things. And she certainly would fail at first, but she'd eventually overcome them. So I think you should read this book. It would give you some great inspiration to go out there, make a list, and do something really exciting. We are up to the checkered flag here, Steph, and I'm going to buy you something very cool today. This could be a motorcycle, or it could be a vehicle, but I want it to be something kind of fun, maybe a collector type vehicle that you would take out on the weekends to enjoy. Of course, there are some rules to my game. My listeners know you can't sell it to fund a bunch of projects with or go on another adventure. It's got to be a keeper. It's got to tick all those boxes, which you love to create so much. But here's the kicker. It's the only collector vehicle you can have. Now, I'm going to remove Rhonda the Honda. You cannot, because you'll just say Rhonda the Honda. I'm never giving that one up. So I'm going to remove that from the picture here because Rhonda's so special. So what am I going to buy you today, Steph?
Okay. Well, it's a toss-up between a couple, but my second choice would have been a Chevy Apache. I've always wanted one of those. But
really? Okay.
But no, I'm not saying that. Don't take that yet.
Okay, yeah. I'm already on the phone finding one for you.
This one's going to cost you more than that. This is a Bowler Nemesis, which is a Dakar vehicle, or it's designed for rallies like the Dakar. And I once met Mr. Bowler himself, who's sadly no longer with us. But the Bowler, and I managed to have a go in this Bowler Nemesis, and it's an amazing off-road, full of torque, full of power. Sounds absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, I'll have one of those, please, if you don't mind.
Well, I don't mind at all. And I'm not surprised, but that you're the first person that's ever picked that. That's a pretty unique thing. It's basically, isn't it built on a Range Rover Sport, or is it tied to that? Or is it?
It is.
Yeah.
No, it is. Yes. Yeah. Quite right. Yeah.
Okay, I thought so, and definitely designed for Dakar Rally or Rally of the Pharaohs. Is that? Am I saying that right? The Pharaohs.
Yeah.
Pharaohs. Yeah. Holy cow! Yeah, kind of cool, and plenty of power. I think that has like a V8 in or something, probably a 4-liter, 4.4, something like that. So it can get you everywhere. Great torque to get you up hills and everywhere, and you can paint it kind of cool. And I think there might even be room in the back to put Rhonda in there if you want to pull over and go for a bike ride. So
I know the one I had to go in was painted like a tiger, and it roared. It was just a wonderful experience.
Was that orange? Was it orange with some stripes on the side? Yes, I know what you're talking about. Okay, well, we can match that one. Nice. I would expect nothing less from you, Steph, something very unique and cool that would take you anywhere you want to go. You have taken us on a marvelous ride today. We've just touched the tip of the iceberg with this wonderful lady here, so I really want to encourage you. I mean, the book is just, sit down and pour yourself a tall drink. You're going to not want to put it down. I want to thank you for sharing just a piece of this amazing journey that we call your life today. Could you give us a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you head off into the hills in that Bowler Nemesis?
I guess I've got one thing I'm quite well known for saying is just simply, you've got this.
It's a wonderful thing. And I remember at one point, my late father-in-law was such a wonderful man. And I was having some challenges. I don't even remember what the challenges are. That's how come they weren't really important. But at the time they were. And I remember him looking at me and just saying, you're going to be okay. And just those words, you got this. Same thing. You got this. You're going to be okay. We are going to be okay, world. We're going to get through what we're going through right now. We've got this. I think it's brilliant. I love it. And again, what's the best way for people to keep up with you in all your adventures in life?
Well, again, the website, stephjeavons.com, or Facebook, of course, the usual social media, Steph Jeavons, or Instagram. But yeah, probably the Facebook. You'll find the most updates on me.
Awesome. I'll make sure I put links to all these things on Steph's show notes page. Listeners, you can find everything on Steph Jeavons, Jeavons, her show notes page on the Cars Yeah website. Steph, thanks for being so generous today with your time and sharing just a bit of your amazing life with my listeners and with me. This has been really inspirational. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you, no doubt, down the road.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. If you're listening to Cars Yeah, you've probably spent some time working on your favorite ride. But how confident are you working on your finances? You may be able to rebuild a fuel injection system, but can you decipher the details of a mutual fund? If you're like me, investments, insurance, annuities, budgeting, and other financial concepts may seem a bit daunting, but what if I told you there's a book that describes these subjects and more in an easy-to-read and a very humorous way? My friend Chris Kimball, CFP, a longtime sponsor and past guest here on Cars Yeah, has written that book, and it's titled The Saga of Ike and Penny, a couple's humorous journey through the confusing world of finance. It's a fun look at things you need to know, everything from investing to effective ways to get rid of credit card debt, and it's probably the only book on finance with a VMAX on the front cover and a classic Mini Cooper on the back. The book's available at Amazon for just $10, and this book will dramatically improve the direction of your financial future. I gave copies to each of my children. All securities are through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Christopher Kimball Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Get your copy, The Saga of Ike and Penny, today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.